Hi,
Have you been
everyone.
dancing all day?
Mostly
Oh,
at the start.
yeah.
Hey, Nathy.
Awesome.
Hi, everyone.
Groovy. Hi.
Hey.
Hello.
I
Hello.
love
We
how
would
many cameras
really
are
love to
on.
see your lovely faces. Give us a wave if you're willing to turn. Oh, that's lovely. Okay. So nice to see people coming in from different parts of the world. I can see Darren and Nathy joining us from far side of Asia and New Zealand. It must be pretty late your time. And also I see a lot of people here coming from the US. Ollie, from drop in where you're joining in from in chat and let's say hi. So while we're waiting for more people to come in, we're gonna start the show already since we have a tight and packed schedule. We have a lot in store for you today with Scene in Scenes, our 24-hour learning festival. Let me just mute that for a bit. Okay, we have Scene and Seeds, our 24-hour learning festival. It's been going on since this morning, and it's really all about celebrating the launch of our new product, Butter Scenes, on Product Hunt. So if you'd like to check it out and give us a follow, please, I'll drop in a link on chat now. Please check out our product and give us some support. But aside from that, we are also joined by really, really talented facilitators. Like the one I came from now is Said Saduk. And now we have Brittni Bowering joining us for designing your workshop experience. So today is all about, or this session will be all about building more impactful sessions that really speaks a lot to your signature as a facilitator. So I've seen her scenes document, which we'll be sharing to today. And she basically she has a lot of activities for us that will give us some actionable tips on building really powerful workshops while helping you embrace your unique facilitation style. And she's a super famous workshop designer and facilitator. You might see her around on LinkedIn or Instagram if you're following her. And she also used to be with AJ and Smart. So if you guys have been following their YouTube channel, you'll also see her there. So without further ado, Brittni, off to you.
Thank you, Cheska. What a nice introduction. I am so happy to be here and so excited. I know that like this whole thing is about butter scenes, but I personally am just really excited about this product. Like, I loved putting this together. I think it's going to be so awesome because I'm sure I'm not the only one who has clients where they've got those intense firewalls and they only can use very specific video conferencing tools. So I'm just really pumped not to like plug it even more than we're plugging it for this entire day. But I just think it's really cool. So if you're interested in it, just
welcome,
dive in.
asshole.
Sorry? What did you say?
I think that might have been an unmute for good, Brittni.
Okay. That was an accent.
One moment. I think, Brittni, one moment. You might need to unmute yourself now.
Oh, there we go. Okay. I was just saying that that's an engaged audience right there. You know what I mean? Someone's already jumping in with a comment. I'm happy. That's exactly how I want it to be. Okay, so everybody has is being shared. There we go. Cheska's shared my butter scenes link, and I can see people funneling into the scene. I don't even know what to call it, but to the app. So that's great. Awesome. You can react there and everything. Looks great. So my first question for you all, and I am a little afraid of the answer, but I'm wondering how you're doing today. I have a multiple choice situation here, and I'll say that when I built this deck, yesterday hadn't happened yet. So, I was actually anticipating that a lot of people would answer like, I'm doing so fantastic. And now I'm anticipating that a lot of people might not be doing as fantastic. But I'm wondering how you're doing. So select your answer in the multiple choice below and we'll see. Oh, will we see their answers? Or do I have to like do something?
No, you just need to select an answer, Brittni, and then you should be able
I have to select
right
an answer.
now. Yes.
Thank goodness Cheska's here.
I'm
Okay,
seeing
great.
that a lot of people are having just an okay day, but also a lot of people are doing fantastic. So I
Yeah.
think we're in good crowd.
And then there's also a couple of, yeah, good crowd. Okay, great. I'm personally right now in this moment doing fantastic. Thanks for asking. But I can totally understand that there's mixed feelings in the world right now. So my goal today is that we get a little bit of a distraction maybe from that. We have some fun, hopefully get a little bit inspired, learn some new things. And then when I send you off at the end of this session, maybe you'll be like bumped up to even better than you are right now. That is my whole goal. Okay, cool. So great to know how you're doing. It's so cool to see that everybody's from all different parts of the world. That is just the power of remote workshops, which I absolutely love. So this is my session. I'm talking about designing your workshop experience, and I see a lot of familiar faces in the chat, and a lot of people that I know and actually know personally as well, which is super cool. Thanks for coming. If you don't know who I am, my name is Brittni, and I love workshops, basically. So I am obsessed with workshops.
Brittni, you
Brittni,
have
you might
muted
have gotten
yourself.
muted again. Sorry.
Oh, there it is. Okay. Okay. Did you miss a lot or not really? Okay, it's okay. I'll just keep going. So I'm Brittni. I love workshops. I am completely obsessed with this format of working. I think that it is so effective. I think it's just the best way for us to come together and collaborate. It's also just, what I've seen the most effective way to get work done, right? So I absolutely adore workshops. The only, there we go. The only problem is that sometimes, sometimes things can be not as wonderful and not as fantastic as I want them to be. This is one of my favorite like little sayings that I like to use, like life is like a workshop. You never know what kind of participants you're going to get. And I feel like it's just so true, right? There's like a way to navigate a lot of different situations, and you need to be ready because you just don't know most of the time who's going to be walking into your room, where they're going to be at that day, what experience they had driving into the workshop or, in the morning getting their coffee, right? So you just never know, and that can cause some little problems. So my question for you is, although I know a lot of you all love workshops too, just like me, I'm wondering what your least favorite thing about facilitating workshops is. So what is your least favorite thing? I want to see this coming in. Let's see. People are writing, people are typing. Okay, Chris says dealing with people who don't really want to be there. Seriously. Juggling the tech. Oh gosh, I'm really actually pretty bad with tech. Just earlier, Cheska was like, your audio's not on, Brittni. What are you doing? Tech issues. Yes. How tired I am by the end. That's a big one. Silence, no engagement. Yep. Members not engaging. Timekeeping. This is all exactly the things that I also dislike about facilitating. Literally all of them. The egos. Yes. Takes a lot of time to plan. Yes, planning is intense. Keeping people engaged. So I think across the board, a lot of these have to do with like people management. Obviously, that's what we're doing when we're facilitating, right? And sometimes it doesn't go exactly according to our plan. So this is something that I absolutely feel for you as well. I'm right there with you. I personally think it really sucks when your participants don't seem to be as excited as you are, right? Like you come in, you're all motivated, you planned this whole session, you walk in, and then there's like a few people that have very much, it's very obvious that they've been forced to be there and they're not really that excited. No one's ever as excited as I am to be there, let's be honest, but I do want people to at least feel motivated and engaged with me, and that doesn't always happen. It also pretty much blows when they're distracted and not paying attention, right? When I became a facilitator and started running workshops all the time, I really started to feel for my like high school teachers and how awful it must have been. Because I mean, and I actually think that as facilitators, we're dealing a lot in a lot of the same ways with disruption and distraction in our workshop rooms, just like teachers are dealing with in the classroom. So definitely this is one of the worst things. And then I think it's just the absolute worst, actually, though, when people are actively being disruptive. So when people are like not only not paying attention, but maybe they're trying to derail you, they're trying to they're combative about the process or the exercises that you're bringing up. These are all things that I hate about workshops, right? It's like I am the biggest fan of workshops, but if we could just like get rid of those things, I would be having a lot more fun, right? So having said that, I have facilitated a buttload, in fact, of workshops. And I've learned a ton in the process. Quick side note, oh gosh, am I going to do this? I'm going to do it. So I don't know if you know, but buttload is actually a technical term for the back of a ship, the butt of a ship, because it holds a lot of stuff. So a buttload is not just like a silly, it's an actual technical. I hope I didn't make that up, but I'm pretty sure I didn't. So anyway, the point is I've facilitated tons of workshops over the years. I've been doing this for on my own for 5 years. Before that, for about 3 years. So I've got about 8 years of like regular workshop practice. And I'd like to basically just share with you some steps, 6 things. These are basically 6 things that I think about when I'm building a workshop, when I'm planning my workshop, when I'm setting it up, and then also a couple of things once I'm actually in the room that basically is going to help you deliver a powerful experience. And if you know anything about me at all, I'm big about experiences. So it's, for me, that is exactly why workshops are awesome, is because they're not just another meeting, right? They actually feel a bit like, and they should, an event, something special, something a bit unique, right? So this is how I like to think about it. So we're going to go through 6 steps. And actually I have a couple of things on my little agenda here. So I'm going to just throw the 6 steps at you. I hope that they're going to be filled with some also like tangible facilitator tips from yours truly. Oh, Britt, truly. It's 6 p.m. So this is the time that I'm usually not working, just so you guys know. Okay. Then I am going to do a quick little workshop exercise with you at the end. And this one is kind of really aligned with what Cheska was saying about bringing more of yourself to your workshop. So we're going to do a little workshop exercise that hopefully will inspire you. And then I hope we'll have a couple of minutes for questions. Let's see how we go. If not, then you can connect with me on social media and we can have a chat there. Okay, sound good? Give me some like thumbs up, some fire emojis, high fives. Yes. Yes. Thank you. I love butter. Look at it. Look at it go. Okay. It's just yeah, just sometimes a little distracting as a facilitator. Just kidding. It's not. Perfect. Let's dive in. All right. So number 1, this is one that I think is potentially a little underrated. First thing that I do when I'm planning a workshop is I learn as much about my team as I possibly can. So usually I'll be talking with a specific client and it's their team that I'm going to be facilitating for. I ask them all the questions. I'm like, tell me about the team. What are their roles? What are their experience levels? What are their strengths? What are their weaknesses, right? I want to know as much as I possibly can before I walk in the room with these people. I want to know, like, the reason why I want all that knowledge is I want to know what kind of activities they might struggle with. I want to know what activities I actually can spend less time on, right? Like maybe some activities will need less build up because they do this kind of thing all the time. Whereas other activities, they might need a few extra steps in order for them to get where I want them to go. Another thing that I always ask that is, I think, just kind of critical, dynamics on the team, right? What's the vibe right now on the team? Is everybody like fresh to the team? They're all excited and ready to go. Has this team been around for ages and they're kind of at a standstill and everybody's a bit tired, right? Are there actually specific people on the team who, I mean, and you know, like I feel comfortable asking this. Are there any like characters that I should know about? Is there someone who's like, this person loves to talk and loves to just really try to drive home all of their ideas? I ask all of those questions. And this is basically just so that I can plan the very best session for this specific team. Now, I feel like I just heard somebody say, yeah, I don't know if you guys heard, okay, smarty pants, but what if that information isn't easy to get my hands on? If only I could do that. Like, I should have a puppet. I just realized I should have a puppet. Oh, Britt, missed opportunity. Okay, so thank you for asking this question, random person from the audience. I really appreciate it. Here's what I do if I'm finding that I can't actually get my hands on that information, or I'm not getting much from the person I'm talking to. My ideal scenario is that I set up an onboarding call with the entire team. And this is obviously something you can't do before like a 1-hour workshop, because you can't have a 1-hour onboarding call before a 1-hour workshop. But for a workshop that is a day long or 2 days or a week, you absolutely are in your right to ask for 30 minutes or an hour to onboard the team before the workshop. I do this, and I'm telling you, like, it is such a game changer. I bring everybody together. We do some intros. We might run a little activity, break the ice, right? It just helps you also, you get a feel immediately for the room, right? You know who you're dealing with. You can see who's a little more chatty, maybe who's really excited and who's like not actually that pumped to be there. I want to know all of those things. Also, bonus that is really just for you as the facilitator, it helps you relax. It helps you chill the F out, right? Because you are not walking into this workshop room now completely blind and not knowing what you're going into, right? You've met all these people before, you've broken the ice. You can then walk in, feel super confident that you're going to be able to deliver a great workshop experience. I'm like the biggest fan of running onboarding calls, and I do it whenever I possibly can. The way to sell this is obviously just to be like, this is going to ensure that we have a really positive outcome from our workshop, make sure everybody feels comfortable, yada, 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 right? It works. So that's my hot tip around getting to know your team. Number 2, designing the right flow. Obviously, for a good experience, you need a good flow, right? So there are a couple things that a lot of you probably already know to do. Regular breaks. I like to do breaks every hour, every 1.5 hours at most. You don't need to do long breaks. Better to do more shorter breaks than like few really long breaks. Regular reflection moments. This helps so much with the flow. Sometimes I see people running workshops and it's like exercise, then exercise, then exercise, then exercise, right? We need to stop at some points and have that opportunity to reflect on what we just did in order to bring, those learnings or the outcomes into the next activity. So planning those regular reflection moments, obviously at the beginning and the end, but don't forget also throughout your workshop is really critical to have a nice flow where people don't just feel overwhelmed, like they're just being, slungshot, I don't know, whatever, into, exercise after exercise. Buffer time, you all know that. We all know to build in buffer time, and then we don't really do it because we think this time we won't need the buffer time. I do it every time. Not every time, but most times. Just build in the buffer time. Do it. Don't argue with yourself. Make it happen. You will need it. And then if you don't need it, you can finish in this like nice, calm, casual way and not be looking at the clock constantly. And then the last thing that I think helps the flow, and when I say flow, I mean like the feeling that everybody has going through your workshop, is that you make sure you highlight the key moments. So sometimes I feel like we're like sort of, again, we're doing an activity and then another activity, and then we reflect, and then we're doing and we're sort of like in this mode. And people don't really know what's important and what's a little less important, right? Because as you know, in workshops, not every exercise is a critical key exercise. It's important that you highlight those things. So the moments that people should, really be focused and working really hard, you need to make sure that people are aware of that. And I know it feels like everybody should be focused the entire time, but it's just not realistic. So set out in your plan, what are those key exercises where you need everybody focused, which means, you're going to make sure that everybody is maybe just coming back from a break. You're going to make sure that you haven't just finished like a really super intense exercise and then you're moving into a really critical one, right? So you're just going to plan that a little bit better. And then verbally highlighting is really important. Now, I feel like someone just shouted out, even though you're all on mute, I heard someone say, all right, Britt, but is there some way to make sure that I get their attention when I need it? That's what I should just act out everyone. So then thank you so much for asking that, audience member. Yes, I do have a way. And it's one of, I know I say this a lot, but I love this trick because it really, really works. So boom, it's called insight statements. And these are basically like verbal highlighters. They're verbal highlighters. So when you're speaking and you're kind of, you're talking, I mean, as a facilitator, you shouldn't be talking the entire time, but we talk a fair amount, right? We have to explain things. We have to highlight things. We have to move people through all of the exercises. So we are speaking quite a bit, and our voice, you know what I mean, starts to get that kind of like monotone feeling from everybody in the room is kind of like, yeah, whatever, Brittni, you know what I mean? You can drown out my voice after a certain amount of time. However, using verbal highlighters, something like the most important thing about this exercise is, right? Or saying, oh, the big idea here. Or another one that I love is like, the great thing about what we discovered is, and everybody is all of a sudden like ears perked up. They're all listening because everybody wants to know what's the great thing? What's the big idea? And like, what's the most important thing? So think about that. It's like any statement that basically gets people's attention and kind of like raises their awareness that this is an important thing I'm about to say, are really great to use. Now, the key with this one is not overusing insight statements. You shouldn't just start talking in insight statements all the time because people will catch on and then you'll just be back to your monotone tone. Okay? So insight statements, you can make up all your own, but they're just a very powerful tool. If you're feeling like you're losing people, people are getting tired. Perk them up with an insight statement. All right, where are we? 3. Kick it off right. So, so when people ask me about low engagement, people not participating, people being disruptive, I'm like, how did you kick off the workshop? Like, what did you do at the beginning? Tell me step by step what happened, because likely it could have been avoided, or at least it could have been made less awful, right? You could have at least had a smoother experience, because the kickoff of your workshop is so critical in the entire rest of the experience. So a couple of things, obviously onboarding the team, right? Like, this is very important. I already talked about what I like to do for onboarding if possible, but even just onboarding the team in the room is really important. Setting clear expectations. So this one is actually like arguably probably the most critical thing to think about, because when you set clear expectations, you're talking about what is the agenda today? What is our goal? What are we going to achieve together? But also, what are we not going to do? And what am I expecting from you as a participant in this workshop? Making sure everything is clear before you go in is just so much easier than trying halfway through to be like, oh, actually, it's really important that everybody does every single exercise. When you're dealing with that person who's like, oh, I'm not good at this, so I'm just going to sit this one out. So really, really critical is that you make sure that those expectations are set. How do you want people to behave? What do you want them to do? You need to outline that. You need to outline that from the beginning. And I think just honesty is so important, right? Being upfront, like, is this workshop going to be difficult? Then tell people, right? Are people going to be tired at the end of the day? Let them know that, right? Is this one, like, just being upfront and being honest about it, basically everything is going to get you a lot farther. Yeah. So yet again, what a disruptive audience. You keep just coming at me, interrupting me with questions. Yeah, but I bet you don't have a really rock star way to kick off any workshop. Well, audience member, you would be wrong, because I do. I have a rock star way, and here it is. It's how to kick off a workshop in 5 steps. I use this format for every workshop. I use these 5 steps. Depending on the length of the workshop, the timeline, I might like mix it up a little bit and do things a little bit differently, but I always do these 5 things. Firstly, introductions, right? You create connection within the group and everybody feels safe, right? Everybody's like, oh, great. These are, I know these people, right? These people are also humans. We can just have a nice time and I feel safe to contribute. First, very important. Then we set expectations. I talked about that already. Very, very important. You're building credibility here. And one thing that I think people
creating stuff.
one thing that I think people often don't do is that they basically, instead of they'll just tell people what's going to happen. So here's the agenda, here's our goal, here's what we're going to be doing. But there's always going to be one person in your group that, despite everything that you just said and you told them what we're going to do, they have some weird idea of something that's going to happen, right? Who knows where they got it from? They could have just made it up. It came to them in a dream, right? But checking in with everyone and asking, what are you hoping to get out of this workshop? Why are you here today? What are you expecting from this? That's like a whole different shift. It's like all of a sudden you're getting people telling you their honest expectations, and you can clarify. You can be like, yes, we're going to do that. Or no, we're not going to do that. Very, very important. It puts you in the driver's seat. Everybody feels confident. They feel safe. They know what's going to happen. Sharing the agenda, right? Sharing the agenda is all about confidence. That's just everybody being like, oh, wow, cool. We're going to do a ton of stuff today. We're going to get a lot done. Here's what I'm expecting. I feel nice and calm and motivated. And I feel like I'm in safe hands because she's got a plan, right? Rules. And this one is critical to avoid disruptive behavior. Like, I know it seems silly and you're like, you're not dealing with grade school kids, but really providing some rules, telling people what is going to be expected of them. Should they have their laptops away? Tell them that, right? For the entire workshop, are we not using laptops? Great. Put them down on in their bags, right? Or do they need to contribute and participate in every exercise and stay for the length of the workshop? Tell them that. I know it sounds like that's obvious, but sometimes it's not, right? It just really depends on the group. So just tell them what you need them to do, tell them the rules of play, get them to agree, and everybody is like, okay, cool, yeah. There's going to be breaks, but I also know that I'm supposed to stay in there. You know what I mean? Like, everybody feels like calm when there's rules and parameters that they're supposed to stick to. And then storytelling. Storytelling is huge. It's something that I use all the time. Even in this, telling a short story about the challenge that you're facing, about the user or the users who you're going to be discussing in this workshop, about the product, about workshops, whatever it is, telling a short story to get people on board, to get them excited, motivated, engaged is critical. And you can do this with even a short workshop, a 1-hour workshop. I told you a little bit of a story about what I hate about workshops, right? That's storytelling, because you guys were all listening and you were thinking, yeah, she's totally right. That does suck when people are doing that in my workshop. That's what storytelling does. It aligns us, right? Now we're all on the same page. You know that I kind of get you, and you guys get me, and now we're off to a great start. Storytelling, very, very important. Okay, number 4. We got to cater to the way that people work, right? Okay, so you guys, here's the thing. You've probably all heard of the 6 working styles, right? That's like old news. Everybody's heard of the 6 working styles, right? What about the business chemistry framework? You guys know that? It's like, oh yeah, everybody knows the business chemistry framework, right? We got guardians, we got drivers, like what? Oh, and then there's this one, this random one that has all these, you're guarded, you're open, you're direct, or you're indirect, right? Everybody knows that chart, right? Because everybody lands on that one. And then we've got this also another random one that, kind of makes sense, but does everybody land on that scale? And what about this one? We've got all this random, you know what I mean? Yeah, I'm analytical or I'm expressive, but I can't be both. This one, right? You guys know this one, obviously. It's like, you're social or you're realistic or you're artistic. Like, it's too much, right? Like all of these, and I'm not saying that they're not there for a reason, but all of these like personality charts and like, oh, are you an A, B, whatever? And like, you know what I mean? They're great, I'm sure, for a lot of situations. The problem is that everybody is different and it's really hard to pigeonhole people into a specific place, right? That this is how they are and this is how they deal with things, right? And you as a facilitator, knowing all of that is just overwhelming. at least for me. Okay. So instead of trying to cater to all of these different ways that people work and make sure that every exercise is perfect for everybody, here's what I believe. Variety is the spice of workshops. Okay. So instead of trying to, crack the code on personality traits, what I would recommend you do instead is just to think about variety in your workshops. That is going to take the experience to a whole nother level. So presenting information in different ways, right? Having slides, speaking to your audience, right? Maybe having, maybe including video, right? Something like this. Alternating activities. So not having just like brainstorm after brainstorm after brainstorm, but doing different types of activities one after the other. That's also really, really great to keep people engaged and to cater to a lot of different styles of people. Mixing it up, obviously, in all ways. Short, long, quiet, loud, standing up, sitting down, right? Like all those things. Think about that when you're planning your workshop. And then obviously, like I kind of already mentioned, using different media, including pictures and, illustrations and music and all the, Cheska, can I get some music real quick? Am I throwing, watch, Cheska's like busy doing something else. Okay, well, okay. Yeah, or just sounds. That's good too, right?
Regular music or?
No, it's okay. It's okay. I'm totally kidding. It's probably, that's actually the better thing to do because music would be a lot more distracting. So the point is like having things like using things like this, creating some variety, keeping people on their toes a little bit is going to help you keep them engaged, and also is going to help you deal with different personality types, let's say, right? Now, gosh, another interruption. All right, hot shot. But what if people still seem to get distracted? Well, great question yet again. And you keep thinking you're putting me on the spot, but you're not. All right, I'm prepared. Here's what you're going to do. So it's like if people are just, if you've got that one person or a couple of people that are just not staying on track and they are getting off, they're just doing their own thing. Here's what you're going to do. Okay. You're going to assign them a task, right? You're going to be the lazy facilitator, which you should already be kind of practicing this mode anyway, but getting them to help you wherever you can is going to be great to keep them engaged and present. Now, the type of task that you give them should kind of reflect how disruptive they're being. So assigning them as a note taker is perfect if they are kind of being quiet and maybe you're thinking they're not paying attention because they're just sitting there very quietly, not saying anything. Maybe they should be your note taker, right? Assign them as a presenter if they like to talk. If they're this person who keeps like chiming in and saying things, get them to come up and be like, can you read these 3 post-its out loud for me? Literally, I've done it so many times. People love it. If they like to talk, that's what they want to do. Instead of trying to shut them down and be like, be quiet, let them talk, right? Just give them something to talk about that's very specific and helpful. Make them your time tracker. If they get distracted, literally give them the timer and be like, hey, I need you to make sure that we really stick to this 5 minutes. So can you just watch that quickly? It's like, it's gold, right? So then all of a sudden they have this job that they have to stay focused on. Very, very powerful. Pair people up if they're disengaged. So it's like, okay, if people are like clearly kind of like not participating and you see a couple people around the room, just pair people up. All of a sudden they have to do the activity because they have one other person relying on them, right? Obviously randomizing input from the team is also really important. So if they're not listening or you feel like they're just like basically waiting for their turn to talk, start randomizing. Start just going, instead of going around in a circle, be like, boom, boom, boom. Now everybody's like, okay, I'm on my toes. I'm ready. I'm listening. It just works a real treat. So that's my tip. So provide tasks / switch it up when things aren't working, right? That's really critical. Okay, number 5. We're almost there. Design your own peak moments. This is one that's really, really important and something that I talk a lot about because I love it. So this is something like a peak moment. Okay, what is a peak moment? It's something that happens during an experience that's out of the ordinary. So basically it like elevates people emotionally in some way, right? So it's like we're all coasting here, we're having an okay time. Oh, all of a sudden I'm like surprised, happy, laughing, whatever. That, my friends, is a peak moment. And they're so powerful because they disproportionately impact how we remember an event. So if you design, like, just hear me out on this one. Let's say you create a workshop. Let's say you and a colleague both create the same workshop. You guys design it together, it's all good, but you include peak moments and your colleague doesn't include peak moments, right? And you guys do the same workshop. Maybe even you're feeling a little bit off workshop day and you fumble a few things and things don't go perfect to plan and you went over time and all that stuff. So you're kind of having a tough workshop day, but you've designed some peak moments. Your colleague is having a totally fine workshop day, but they have no peak moments. So it's all just pretty like middle of the road. Your participants will remember your workshop as being a lot better than the other workshop, right? Like they will remember it as being really positive and wow, that outcome was great. And I had such a great experience just because you strategically planned a couple of like pivotal moments where you brought people up emotionally. So just think about that. It makes us feel something. So it doesn't have to be funny. It doesn't have to be surprising. It has to be somehow emotional. But it can be all of those things. Okay, so there we go. All right, you guys, now it's becoming a bullying situation, yet another interruption. Okay, weirdo, is this peak moments thing coming from a book or something? Gosh, you guys just think you have all the answers. Well, it is coming from a book. So there you go. There's a book. I would highly recommend it. It's called The Power of Moments. If you work with people, then you need to read this book. And pretty much, I think everybody works with people, right? So read this book. It taught me so much and made me really just like shift the way that I think about planning workshops and the way that I think about engaging with my clients before the workshop, during the workshop, and after the workshop. Great book. Great. Chip and Dan Heath, couple of brothers writing books, right? All right. Number 6, this is the last one. So you need to, in order to deliver a great experience, you need to lean into your facilitation style, okay? What is a facilitation style, you might be wondering? I actually really think it's important to bring yourself to your workshop, right? So although we are the facilitator, we are merely the guide, right? We are not the hero. We're not the presenter. We're not taking over the room. It's not really about us, but it is about what you can give to the team, right? And what you can give is your authentic, wonderful, fabulous personality, right? So understanding what your strengths are is really important. Acknowledging your weaknesses, where you might need to bring in some extra tools or an extra hand, right? That's really important. Critically, I think, is that it's so important that when you're facilitating, and this is just like when you're presenting, when you're meeting people, never try to be someone that you're not. I am a big believer in that the best facilitators are often quieter. They're often people that are actually more introverted because they're very attuned to people and energy and that kind of thing, right? So usually the loudmouth person is struggles to facilitate, right? And I love to talk, and I often have to be like, Brittni, it's not your time to talk, right? Like I have to manage that as a facilitator because it's a weakness. So I really believe that anybody can facilitate a workshop with some guidance and some coaching and, all those things. But the way that you make your workshop an experience and memorable, and the way that people will want to keep coming back to you, is by doing it like only you can do it, right? Bringing something a little special to the workshop sauce that, is about you, right? Because that is what makes you unique. That's your special thing, So lean into it. All right. How was that pep talk? Good? You like that? All right, good. I mean it. I meant all of it. Okay, now, one more. I have time for one more interruption. All right? Right. That all sounds pretty fluffy. Are you going to follow it up with something tangible? Gosh, you guys are a tough audience, I'll tell you. I can't even believe it. So yes, I am, in fact, and that would be the workshop exercise that I want to do with you all. So I'm calling it Facilitate Like You. Isn't that cute? It's a short exercise, so we're probably going to have a few minutes for Q&A, hopefully. But I just want you to play around with this. And we don't only have a few minutes for this exercise, so keep in mind that it might take you a little while longer to answer the questions or come up with the brainstorm that we're going to do. But I would just ask that you have a little bit of an open mind and you just kind of go with the flow, right? Cool. Sound good? Thumbs up? Fire emojis? Happy faces? Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, so picture this, everybody. You are nearing the end of your, let's say, 3-day workshop. Okay, it has been an intense 3 days. You guys have done a ton of stuff together. Okay, and it's just you're at the end of the 3rd day, and you've completed all of your like critical activities. You guys have the end result that you were going in for, and all your participants are kind of looking at you and they're just like, are we done? Like, we're almost, you know what I mean? They're looking at their watches and they're sort of like, are we wrapping up? My question to you is, how do you think they're feeling at this moment, right? 3 days, intense. We're nearing the end of the 3rd day. I want you to write this down. I want you to add a note. So all you do is you click, add notes to board, click anywhere on the board. And I want you to add your note. How do you think people are feeling after 3 days workshopping? Yeah, and it's been intense. Yes, exhausted. High on happy. I love that. Exhausted. Yeah, maybe they're happy, but like delusional happy because they're like, ooh, that was a lot, right? Yes. Overwhelmed. Yeah. They might not feel like they've achieved as much as they thought they would. That's a good one. They're ready to go home. Totally. That's a good one. Yeah. They need time to digest. Might feel restless. Exactly. These are all excellent answers. Look at all the pop-ups. Loving all the colors that are coming up here. Okay, 100%. This is exactly how I think you're right, all of you. So if we think about that, so how participants are feeling there, they're at this point. Now, if I ask you this question, how do we want them to feel, right? Like, so if you think a person leaving your workshop, what is it that we actually want them to feel? What's that one thing? What's the adjective? Pop it on the board. Click anywhere. Inspired, energized, achieved, grateful, yes. Gratitude, proud, stoked, connected, yes, 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 yes. Loving all of these. Energized, nourished, super high on happy, adorable. Ready to implement, yes, exactly. Yep, feeling like they can actually do things differently. They've like learned something, 100%. Motivated is a big one. Yeah, productive. Like that was worth my time, 100%. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, now looking at this board here in front of you, maybe you put a Post-it down there, maybe you didn't. Either way, that's great. I want you to find one word on this board. Maybe it's the one you wrote. Maybe you wrote inspired and you're like, yeah, I'll stick with it. Or maybe you saw another one that popped up and you're like, oh no, I think that's my word. I want you to pick one word on the board and just like keep it with you or write it down on a little notepad or a Post-it next to you. Everybody pick one word. Go with your gut here. What's that first instinct of like, yeah, no, I definitely want people to feel proud, or I definitely want people to feel excited, right? Whatever the word is, I want you to write it down in front of you. So you're going to keep this with you, okay? Great, 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 great. Now, put that word aside and I want you to kind of like forget about what everything I just said, just forget it from your brain, okay? Now, I want you to think about, oh, sorry, you already did this. I'm going to skip to step 2. Step 1, you look over all the feelings, you chose which one would be your ideal scenario, okay? So everybody has a word. Step 2, I want you to think about how your friends describe you, okay? So what kind of adjectives do they use? If you have some pen and paper in front of you, you can write a few things down. Cheska, could you put on some nice thinking music? Or actually, no, make it fun music. because we're having fun. So some fun music, and I want you just to, for 1 minute, I want you to write down as many as you can think of. So what do your friends, positive, I practiced this exercise with my husband, and he jokingly said all these negative things, but it's all positives, okay? So I want positive, wonderful things that your friends say about you. 1 minute, we'll play some music.
Is Boogie the theme? Okay, I'm gonna change tracks, everyone. And let's do this.
Nice. Personal fave. Keep writing for a few more seconds. Okay, pens down. Everybody, put your pens down. You wrote down, that must have been also a nice feeling with an exercise, right? Because you're all fabulous. And hopefully you have an array of different adjectives, descriptive words in front of you that you feel like all represent you. Now, after that, looking at those all in front of you, I want you to choose one of those, one word. So not only do you believe this about yourself, but you think that it's also like not necessarily unique to you, but maybe unique to you and the scenarios that you find yourself in and the industry that you work in. It's something that is like very typical you, right? I want you to select that one. So I chose for myself, I chose silly. And the reason, I know this sounds like a little bit, you know, kind of weird because you're like, is that an important quality? The reason why I chose it is that for me, it's really important for the kind of work that I do, because with everything that I do, with the workshops that I run, trainings and presentations, I don't ever take myself too seriously. I take my work very seriously, but I always try to have some fun and bring some silly elements in, right? So I do actually think that it's a very good, description of me. So I want you to choose one of those words. Now, actually, can you drop it in the chat, whatever the word is that you've chosen, so I can see it? What is the word in the chat? Energetic, witty, playful, quirky, effective, fun, empathetic. Love that. Insightful, open-minded, playful, caring. I can't read them all because they are coming in so hot. Fabulous. Yes, these are all excellent words. So now that we've all selected that one word, this is what we're going to do next. And this is where it gets a little bit like, just come with me on this journey, and maybe it won't come to you today, but maybe tomorrow morning after you've slept on it, all of a sudden you'll have some fabulous idea. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to create your own peak moment for the end of your workshop that combines these two things. How you want your participants to feel, along with a special element of you. Okay, so we're going to do this in stages. It's much easier. So the first thing, the kind of easy thing to do, which is, what's that first feeling that you wrote down? So the one that you want participants to feel. Okay, so I chose accomplished, right? So I wrote down, I want everybody to feel accomplished when they leave my workshop. That's the thing. So then I want you to come up with a simple thing you can do, can be super, super simple, of how you can encourage your participants to feel accomplished, right? So whatever the word is, that's what I want you to focus on. For instance, as an example, I want people to feel accomplished. So what I could do as a final exercise in my workshop is I could have everyone write down one thing that they learned or discovered during my workshop that they're excited about, right? I mean, that's like, I know it's like the age-old, most generic way. Maybe it's not the most generic, but it's like, it's a classic way to wrap up a workshop. You know, give me that one thing that you're going to take away. But it is an excellent way to make people feel accomplished. So I'm doing that as an example because it doesn't have to be anything crazy. Okay, so I'm going to give you 1 minute. I'm going to turn on, sorry, Cheska, could you turn on some music for us again? 1 minute. Simple. Keep it simple. That's the goal here. Jessica, can you turn on music? Thank you.
The way I'm slipping away, I took my feelings off. You made me untouchable for life. Yeah, and you wasn't polite. It hit me like a tom. You hit me like a tom. No, no, no. Ooh, yeah. Well, I took my
So it looked, I think my video screen is like a little bit later, like it comes in later than the sound. So it looks like I'm not dancing on the beat, but I promise I'm dancing on the beat. It just doesn't look like I am. At least on my side, it doesn't look like I am. That's funny. Oh man. Okay. Okay, whatever you came up with, it's brilliant. It's all good. We can turn the music, we can lower the music for now, Cheska, but we'll jump back into that music in a second. So you've come up with just a simple activity, something very whatever. Just the most important thing is it makes your participants feel that one feeling that you identified. Okay, great. Next, last thing we're going to do is I want you to think about that activity that you came up with, and I want you to think about your fabulous personality trait that you also identified. And how can you add a bit of that? How can you add a bit of that flavor to that activity? Okay, so as an example, let's say I want everybody to feel accomplished, but I also am a little bit silly and I like to get people out of their comfort zone and make them be a little bit silly with me. So what I could potentially do is I could have everyone write down one thing that they learned or discovered during my workshop. And then I could have them like one at a time with maybe some like funny music playing. They could like stand up in the room and loud and proud, announce to everybody what the one thing is that they learned, right? And then I would really encourage everybody in the room to like clap and cheer and like be like, woo, you rock, just because it's a little bit silly. And all of a sudden people are kind of laughing. By the way, when you make people like act things out, it's amazing. People really get into it, especially at the end of the workshop when they're kind of feeling a little like loopy anyways. So that's a way that it's a simple way. It's a little silly, obviously, but it adds a little element of something unique to that workshop exercise. So that's what I want you to do. I want you to take your exercise that you came up with, think about your personality trait, and how can you add a little bit of that flavor to your wrap-up workshop exercise. Okay, more music, 1 minute, which is really not a long time, but you can obviously think about this over the next little bit.
I turned my camera on. I cut my fingers on the way. On the way. I feel me slipping away. I wipe my feelings off. You made me untouchable for life. Ooh, yeah. And you wasn't polite. You hit me like a tom. I don't know where it's from. Hit me like a tom.
I'm glad I made Cheska laugh. That's my goal. Oh, good gravy. Okay. All right. You can stop the music now. Oh, Cheska, you're the best. She's like playing timers for me. That's fabulous. Okay, time is up. Thank you for doing this exercise with me. I now, if you want to, I would love to hear a couple of your ideas. And I think what we'll do, just because there's quite a few people in the room, is we'll use one of these handy dandy butter scene murals. And I want you to write down your unique workshop activity below if you feel like you want to share it. Now remember, this activity is unique to you. Like no one can, even if someone sees it and they're like, ooh, I want to do that, no one can deliver it like you. So don't be afraid of sharing your activity. I saw a couple people talking in the chat about their activities, so I want to see a couple of notes pop up. Yeah. Oh, look. Okay, so I can like focus on this. Okay, cool. So here we go. We got Steve. His word is empowered. Ask participants to think of one word that captures how they feel empowered after the workshop. Cool. Explain that this word should reflect a new strength, insight, or confidence that they've gained. What I love about this is there's like real direction in your request. I think that's really great for people when you give them something, especially at the end of a workshop, give them like very clear parameters. Thanks for sharing, Steve. Oh, hold on. We've got Angel here. Energy. Yes, give people some energy. A game of happy salmon. I don't know what happy salmon is, but I'm going to Google it after this session because I want to hear about it. What do we have here? Okay, commitment card. I want them to feel accomplished. So I'd recommend them to write how would they implement post going back to work in a commitment card. Love that. My flavor, creativity, love it, can be added in this simple commitment card activity through post it on LinkedIn, make it public, and tag me. More like a real challenge. I love that. That is great. Exactly. So like people are like the commitment and accomplishment is really, you're really feeling it with that, right? That's so cool. Thanks for sharing, Manzi. Oh, everybody's coming in hot here. Let's see here. Accountability partner. Oh, great. I love that. That's really cool. Thanks, Michelle. A wall. Okay, what is this? A wall called Wow Moment where they can stick their wows. Cute. That would make for a great photo as well. You could get everybody under the wow wall. Cute. I love that. Here we go. Included. Everyone feels included. Cool. Okay, so fun. Go around the room and have each person think about when they felt most engaged. Tell us by making a dad joke out of it. Love that. That's so fun. So cute. You know what I would love is if what you did with this is if you like gave them like the parameters of what makes a dad joke. So it's like, here's how to take something and turn it into a dad joke. And just be like, you have to, you know what I mean? I don't know, a couple steps or something, because that would be really funny. I love this. I'm so excited about all of these ideas. I don't have time. Oh my gosh, I have to wrap up. Sorry, Cheska. It's 1 minute to 7. Here, let me just go to my next slide. If you want to follow me in social media on all accounts, I am Brittni Bowering. So Instagram, LinkedIn, all that stuff, connect with me. If you want to sign up for my newsletter, I would love that. I deliver a lot of tips and tricks and just fun things about workshops. So if you're running workshops regularly, you should do that. Apologies that we don't have time for Q&A, but I think the exercise went really well. And I'm so glad that you all spent this hour with me. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thanks, Cheska. Thanks, Butter. Thanks, all the participants. Yay. Hope Cheska's not mad at me. I'm supposed to finish much sooner than this.
Well, thank you so much, Brittni. Right, I think Chris was meant to be ending that, but really, really, really appreciate. I think let's all give Brittni a round of applause just now.
Thanks,
That was super entertaining and also really, really informative. So we're ending now. So we're right at the hour. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm dropping some very important links in chat now, meaning what important links are those? One is our product hunt launch. Please go and support us and please connect with Brittni as well over her Instagram, her LinkedIn, and her website, and go check out Butter Scenes. So thank you all for all the energy. I know you must have a lot of questions, but we need to just drop now. I hope to see you in the next sessions. I've also dropped those links in chat. And thank you. Thanks, Brittni.
Thank you so much.
Hope everyone had fun.
Thanks.
Thank you. Last DJing for today. Okay. Bye.